let's put it this way. Let's say
Embrace the unknown. Why not?
no, that's not something that's going to be.
I'm able to make my own decisions independently. After that,
No, but you already know your reality.
But I can take more responsibility for my own actions.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't have to look to any other source. And I'm in control of my reality.
How do you know what you're doing
I
is?
believe that anyway.
How do you know what you're doing is moral? Who decides that?
I decide that.
Yeah, but what if you're wrong?
What if I'm wrong? It's my existence.
It's not your
But
existence.
I have the ability.
No,
I
look,
just have
look
the
here, my friend.
Independence to make that decision.
Okay, here's the difference between a person who believes in God and a person who doesn't believe in God. A person who believes in God, he believes in objective morality because his morality is not from himself. So this, what do you say? This possibility of being wrong, hear me out, hear me out. Yeah, this possibility of being wrong from his worldview is something that he will not be responsible for because he believes in a morality which was imparted to him through laws of God because he believes in God. Yes, in your case, the morality changes from different times to different different cultures even.
There's one other point though. If
Yeah,
you
go
also
on.
believe in God, do you not believe that?
No, we're
God-
coming to that. We're
But
coming.
if God decide all your decisions already?
No, my friend, we're coming to that. It's not all your decisions.
I was just talking about
You do have free will. You do have free will.
God knows what you're going to do.
Yeah, no, you do have free will. It is up to you to act upon that will.
Okay, wait, 1 sec. So when you were created by God,
Yeah.
He knew that you're going to end up in heaven.
We are going into now predestination, a different
Yes,
topic.
but this is
So let's
important.
let's
More
discuss.
responsibility.
Yeah, but
Okay, what's it-
let's discuss first the premises before we understand what God decides and what God doesn't decide, or what God knows and He does not know. You know, that's two different things. So what I'm saying is that as a believer in God, you know, I prepare my life. I try to lead my life as much as possible based on the objective morality that I've acquired from my faith, from my deen, because I believe that is God given, and God is the one who knows you because He's your creator. He knows you better than anyone else. He knows His creation, which includes me and the world that I live in, better than anyone else. So He knows which laws are the ones that if I obey, which laws that I follow, that will be the most beneficial to me, and the ones that He's asked me to prohibit is best for myself as well. It's just like a car manufacturer or a phone manufacturer. Yes, they know their product better than anyone else. So when they give you a guidebook, that in order for you to take care of your car or your phone, you follow these guidelines, and your car will be, basically, I don't know, last longer or function much better.
Can I give you another example?
Yeah, go on.
Let's say I'm not a car manufacturer, right? But I study cars.
Same thing. You have
Same
to.
thing. So what's wrong with me studying the experience of humanity?
No, but when
Learning
you
about
say-
humanity to decide for myself.
Okay, here's the
what I
thing.
think is right.
When you say you study cars, you still got your information from someone else who knew better than you, right?
Or I just looked at the car and worked it out.
No, I don't think anyone is capable
not?
of that. Because if you just looked at the car,
But humanity did this with science.
no, hear me.
looked at the
If you just looked at a Mercedes-Benz and you don't know how it functions, it's a brand new car, it's a concept car,
Might take me,
which
100
you don't.
years to do it, but I
Yeah,
might
but that's what I'm saying. You have to rely on somebody else's work, and then also there's no guarantee that you're right. You see, you still have to depend. Sorry. You still have to depend on somebody who knows better than you to explain to you how things work, and that is most likely the manufacturer of that car. You see what I mean? Ultimately, it comes to the person who invented it, who designed it. Yes, to explain to you how things work. Yes, to get it 100%. Look, you can use trial and error if you want, but even then, you're not guaranteed that you'll be right. Yes. So, for example,
Maybe
if
there
you
is no right though.
let's say you have
Maybe
no
you can only estimate.
no, let's say you have no clue about mathematics. Yes? Is there a possibility that when you explain maths to a maths professor who knows his stuff, that he will actually correct you on many points?
Yes.
Because you have no clue about the subject, and you say, let me try it, let me try to solve this equation. But I don't think you'll be able to solve the equation because you don't know the basics of that particular topic. Yes? And that's why I'm saying you always need someone who is more knowledgeable and who knows better than you for you. Look, even the scientists use this methodology. Yes? So they look at the references of, say, Einstein or someone, yes, to work out their theories, to work out their solutions. And they say, look, if this is how this previous scholar concluded his postulation or his theory or whatever, I'm going to build on that and work from that.
So why don't I use that same principle in philosophy? I say,
You
okay,
can.
religion, for example, and
Yeah.
ancient philosophers, they had some good information, and
Yeah.
I'm going to build on this and develop. Same way scientists took basic inventions and took the information and made something new. Now we have smartphones. What's stopping me saying, okay, religion gave me some good information at one point, but I'm going to develop this now, and I'm going to use the information that I got from religion and from philosophy, and now I'm going to create a new thing.
Yeah, but you
I'm
still can't
building on the
answer why you're here. You can't answer simple questions like what
you are-
created the universe, why you're here, what is your purpose, what is your, you know,
it's
these
important for you,
things.
that might not be important.
You think even though with all the philosophical knowledge, if you're still unable to answer these questions, the simple questions, if you're still unable to answer these questions about science, sorry, from a background of science and so on, then that shows that there is a void. There's something that needs to fill this gap which we have. And I don't say that, oh, just say God did this, God did this. Yes, everything. So even this God of the gaps thing is kind of a, what do you say, cliche, which many people use.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, but ultimately, you know, everything has a purpose. Everything from the smallest thing to the most, what do you say, macroscopic thing that you can imagine has a purpose. We as human beings should have a purpose. Why are we here? But again, that goes into much deeper philosophy. But what I'm saying is that there are certain things which we know are objective truths. If we don't know where that came from, then there is a lot of gap in our knowledge and our information. So if
I'm open to accepting that.
yeah, sure. So imagine this, that you believe in God, yes? Sorry, you don't believe in God. And when you die, and that is something which is an objective truth you cannot deny. Whether you believe or not, one day we are going to die. Yes? So that is one fact
Well,
or
depending
one...
if you mean physical or spiritual or...
Do you believe in
Your
spiritual?
spirit, there's a spirit. I
Do you
don't
believe?
know.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Let's
Well,
talk about things that we believe rather than what we don't
your
believe.
consciousness, does that die?
Well, the consciousness, again, is not physical.
Yeah.
Yes, but you do accept without any evidence that you have it. You see what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Yes?
Well,
The
the
only
evidence
evidence is your worldview.
experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's your worldview. But again, I said that earlier that this could be, what do you say, just some sort of a matrix you're in, just some sort.
virtual reality.
Yeah, it's a simulation that you're in. Maybe your brain is in a jar and you're imagining all these things.
Maybe we are.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it could be many things. That's what I'm saying. Simple things like this. Forget about the cosmos. Yes, the scientists are unable. That's why they call it the hard problem of consciousness. Yes, what is within themselves, they cannot answer. Yes, for your faculties. Yes, your rationality, your reasoning. All these things are linked to your consciousness. Yes, if the very faculties that you use to question things, yes, to inquire about the world that we are living in, if you're unable to understand the source of those faculties, then I think there's a huge issue.
Why?
Why? Because
Why is it a big issue?
if you're going to say that all this just came as as an accident one day, yes, from all the atoms and the electrons firing in your brains, all these are just as an accident that just happened one day. I find that like that's more like saying like, oh, something just came up by magic.
Okay.
You know?
But what's wrong with that?
But what's wrong? Everything rationally is wrong with it.
I can
Well,
still-
you
I
tell
can-
me.
Well, I can say, even if that's the case, and I accept that, I can still choose to live a life that I want to live.
No,
I
it's
can
not.
choose
It's,
to have
no,
my
no,
own
no.
morality.
Even an animal can lead a life without having civilization like ours. They don't need a library. They don't need a warm suit or a coat. They still live their life. Yes. So we are no different to them if that is our level of thinking. But as higher thinking beings, I think we should go a bit higher than those animals out there. Yes. So, and we have to understand that one day if we die, yes, and I mean in your case, let's say you die one day as an agnostic, and you do realize after you die that there is a world after death, there is a life after death, and there is angels which you cannot see in this world, which you didn't believe in this world, and there is God.
I'd be in big trouble.
Exactly. So
Actually, this is a good, because this is Pascal's wage. I remember reading this.
Yeah, it
It's
is a Pascal's
safer
wage.
bet just to believe in God.
yeah.
Anyway.
So why don't you?
can't lose,
Why do you take the higher risk then?
Maybe I'm a gambler. I don't want to.
Well, you're a bad gambler then.
I know.
Even if you're
I
a
know.
gambler, you're a bad one because
actually,
what
like
the
this-
gamblers do is they actually try to minimize the risk.
No, I think this is a very good
Yeah,
argument.
forget about the gamblers.
It's a very good
The people who invest their money, yes,
In fact, I think this is the strongest
they,
argument.
yeah, they also take the minimum risk. So as human beings, we should minimize our risk, whether it's living our life.
But then you have to believe in the outcomes as well.
Yeah, but
And if you just don't have belief, then
Look here, my friend.
Yeah.
Everything that Islam has prohibited is bad for the individual. Yes, be it adultery, be it fornication, be it gambling, be it alcohol, be it anything that is, I mean, even messing up the environment. You know, not caring for the environment. That is something which goes against Islam, against the teachings of Islam. So what I'm saying is that all these things which have been prohibited is good for the individual and for the society at large. Yes? If you look at people, like for example the liberal secular world that we live in today, for them what is the main thing? What is the main achievement for them? To be rich, yes? To have the best of things in terms of material wealth or material, like a big house, the best cars, and I don't know, everything else in the material sense. I'm not saying everyone's like that. Obviously, there are exceptions to those. But the main drive is towards the prosperity is measured by your wealth. Yes, but you see, in Islam that is not the case. In most, I think most religions, I would say, I wouldn't just say Islam, but in most religions, even the Buddhists, for them, gaining wealth and material wealth is not the main achievement. The main achievement is how you lead your life in terms of how God dictated it for you. When I say dictated, I mean how He showed you what to abide by and what to prohibit. To the best of your ability, you try to do that. Stop sinning and so on. All those things is the one which we Muslims will call by taqwa. The fear of God, in the sense that you fear authority. Just like, for example, if somebody is driving and they know that there is a police there, they would not break the traffic rule. Yes, be it talking on the phone, which is against the law here, last time I checked, or doing something like running the red light or something like that. Yes, when they see the police, they will actually try to stop themselves from doing it. So when you know that God is always looking at you all the time.
I'll agree with you a lot. I think there is a lot of value in having some kind of authority, some kind of something which is above you that you have to answer to. Because ultimately you can be open to anything. But
because every
I
system,
like to think that with enough time and learning and study of philosophy and morality and ethics, you can get to that yourself.
Get to what?
Get to a point where you have an authority on your own morality, which is positive, which is something that can bring about a better humanitarian.
Yeah, but that's your subjective view.
It is subjective.
You see, what might be your
But it's
subjective.
similar to the Islamic one.
No, not really.
No, in the sense of how it treats other people. You're talking
Yeah,
about
but even
not
that
murdering,
changes, my friend. That changes over
it's
time.
similar though.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I think I did mention this already. Abortion at one point was seen as heinous, as criminal, to kill your own children. Today it's perfectly normal. We have 200,000 abortions a year in this country. A small country like Britain. Yes, in America I'm sure it's much higher, 600 or 800 million a year, my friend.
Does Islam mention abortion specifically?
Oh yes, killing your own children, yes, is something which is not allowed.
In the womb.
Yeah.
Specifically.
So I think there were practices before where the people used to practice certain things which will not, which is kind of family planning thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Contraception.
And well, they didn't have contraceptions in that sense, but yeah. So basically, Allah says in the Quran that He will provide. Do not kill your own children, because I think there's a twofold message there. Because during the Jahiliyyah period, during the pre-Islamic period, they used to actually bury their daughters alive. You know why? Because the boys were considered to be higher value than the girls, so they used to kill. This infanticide was practiced. Yes, unfortunately, it's practiced still in places like India and all. Yes, that is again the same.
China as well.
Yeah, the same sort of. No, I don't think China. China is a different kettle of fish. They say have 2 children, regardless of after that what happens, whether you have a girl or a boy. That's it. But I don't know if that is changed now. But anyway, that's how it is. So in Islam, we have been told from the very beginning not to kill children. Yes, and that is something which is part of the morality
I'm happy
in
to
Islam.
accept that the morality in Islam might be one of the best, or if not even the best morality for humanity.
I mean,
It's still a question of belief, though, in arbitration of this.
So whatever whatever
the
prohibitions Islam lays down is something which is good for the individual.
I can
So
accept that.
so the question is this: if you know the pastor's wager, So if you take the higher risk, that means if there is
I'm
God,
not lying to myself if I'm going to believe just because I want to go to heaven. But don't you really, when you come to belief, it doesn't have to be genuine belief, sincere belief. But if
So
you don't
what
have
is-
that, you can't just force
so when you say sincere belief, if everything that you
Evidence.
have, everything you have pondered and everything you have thought of makes sense to you, then to reject that would be insincere.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So once you know that this universe didn't build itself, it did not come by itself. Yes? There must be an intelligent
Is that the right
designer.
evidence? Do you not think you need to feel or?
You give me an alternative. Go on.
don't know. I don't
Exactly my point.
What's your evidence then?
My evidence is that that the world that we live in, that the universe that we live in, we observe today.
Is it just philosophical
It's,
beliefs, or you
no,
feel
no,
something?
it's something I use deductive reasoning for to come to the conclusion. Okay? So it's not just belief, or just because somebody told me that I believe in it. I'm saying, what is the alternative?
Yes.
Where did all this come from? Yes? There must be something. We see a lot of systems in our universe, a lot of laws of physics that we see, all this, you know, the fine tuning and all that, didn't all just come into place by itself. Yes, if the if the Earth was a bit further away from its orbit or closer to the sun, yes, then we would be either freezing to death or burning to death. Everything is in this golden ratio that we see in our universe. It's something that just doesn't come about by itself. There must be an intelligent designer out there who has designed this and using certain certain philosophical arguments, like for example this we cannot have a creator who has a creator who has a creator, you know. So this the infinite regress is something that shouldn't apply. There must be the first cause. There must be a cause which created all of this, because everything that begins to exist has a cause. Yes, and we know that our universe began to exist. Do you not believe our universe? Well, I think the Big Bang. If you look at the Big Bang theory, okay, if you look at the way that the universe expands.
Theory, though.
No, but of
I don't
course.
have to accept it.
Well, when you say theory,
Science is its own belief system.
if you don't accept religion, you don't accept science, then what are you left with?
Experience, the lived experience.
Yeah, but you can't have the experience. You can't go back to the time when the Big Bang happened.
But I don't need
Can
to.
you?
I know that I exist, and I'm living as if I exist, and that's it. What's wrong with that?
No, you still don't understand.
Yeah.
Like I said to you, even if you believe what you believe it's still subjective. So if you can be wrong, if you have been wrong in the past, you can be wrong now. You see what I mean? So how do you know? No, it's not the inconsistency. When you know that you're capable of making mistakes and you're capable of making errors which can impact you and your family, yes, and the future, then you should be taking measures that doesn't happen.
You said the trial and error. You live and you learn through the experiences. You read all the philosophy you need to read.
That still won't answer all your questions.
Well,
You see what I mean? That still won't make your subjective worldview objective.
Yeah.
That still won't make the principles that you have accepted for yourself change tomorrow. Either maybe the culture that you live in, or the time that you live in, or the place that you live in. You see, maybe if you go to another country, you might have to readapt based on the culture. So you have to unlearn the things that you have learned here. You see what I mean?
and this is why
I'll
concede to you that I think it's more valuable to have in that case.
Also, testimony is a huge thing. You have to believe in testimony. For example, if I asked you, have you seen the DNA have you compared the DNA between you and your parents? How do you know you're not adopted?
Actually, no, I did do a DNA test.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, there must be a reason for that, right? And there must be an important. I don't want to delve into the privacy of your family and your life. But what I'm saying is that unless you have done a DNA test, you won't for guarantee say that they are my parents. Yes, maybe there are certain physical features which are similar, but then they might be similar to other relatives in your family. You see what I mean? You don't know where you're adopted from, either from your family or outside it. Yes, so we cannot go about asking for proof and evidence for everything. Certain times we have to accept and acknowledge that the testimony that I received is from a person that I trust, and I accept it.
Which example would you use?
I would give an example, the one that I just gave about your parents.
No, I mean from
another example. Sorry.
Islamic perspective.
In Islamic perspective, it's basically it's the Prophet's word. The Prophet, all the prophets, yes, their words were basically like, because they had direct revelation, they had direct contact with God Almighty. So that's why they were able to tell you something which might not be true now, but which they might be about the future. Or they might know already that this is best for you as a nasiya, as an advice for you, because they know that this is what God told them, and He's imparting the message onto you. Another example I would give from the world that we live in, besides the parents' DNA, is when you go to see a doctor. Do you see the certificate? You don't. You know that they work for the NHS, and you know the NHS is a government.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Hope this video was helpful for you. This may help others too, so please consider sharing, and we will bring more videos in the future, inshallah. So consider subscribing and you won't miss any. Jazakallahu khairan.